mayor just announced that the city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food.
Good, go home. In case you guys haven't heard, Mayor Eric Adams is ending this program that offers vouchers for food. They're already blaming this on the election of Donald Trump, and we're gonna get into it.
The mayor just announced that the city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food, ending a controversial program that had repeatedly come under attack by conservatives and others.
You notice when they say "and others," that's because, and I hate to break it to everybody, but it's not just people on the right that have noticed that this is a problem.
This pilot program in New York City, drenched in both humanity and controversy.
I want you to pay attention to the wording right there. Drenched in both humanity and controversy. The reason that they mention humanity is to tug at your heartstrings. And if you want to make a play at tugging at people's heartstrings, I'm 100% for that if that's what you want to do. But the fact of the matter is, we've got our own people to worry about. And I'm tired of hearing about how America first is racist. You go to almost any other country, they're usually way more strict about the way that they do and don't let people in. Try going to China.
China.
And tell them that you're seeking asylum from another country. So I'm tired of our government giving money and resources away to immigrants and then giving empty pocket energy to their own citizens when they need help. We've got our own veterans living on the street so that immigrants can live high on the hog. We just had a natural disaster in the form of Hurricane Helene that wiped out God knows how many sundown towns. And sure, they may be racist, but they're our racist. Which, if you saw the video I did on that, I don't really feel that way, but it's just fun to bring up. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. So we're going to go on with this story, but I just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know, in case you couldn't tell by what I just said regarding sundown towns, I will be having fun during this. That's kind of what I do on every video, but if you're new around here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to reach 100,000 subscribers, and we're making pretty good progress. So let's go on with the story.
Distributed debit cards to migrant families staying in city-funded hotels. And
so not only are they getting debit cards for food, they're living in city-funded hotels. I'm just gonna say, if we're not providing them with free massages during their off time, this program is bullshit anyway. We're either offering luxury or we ain't. Hell, I'd leave my home country too if I knew I could stay in a hotel and get free food somewhere else. I would be seeking asylum immediately.
Allowing them to buy their own food. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Onier following the breaking news for us. Josh?
Well, Bill, it's a program that, as you say, generated plenty of controversy, but now its absence may raise even more questions. The so-called Immediate Response Cards pilot program was designed to help feed migrant families who'd found themselves in New York.
Okay, I love the wording on that too. Found themselves in New York. Like it was just like, oops, I found myself in New York. How did I get here? I live in Austin, Texas, and I have never just found myself in New York. I have lived in this country my entire life, and I have never just found myself in New York. We're gonna need to be a little more honest in our wording here. The reason that people come to the United States in the first place is because they know that the United States is a sucker, and we're more than likely gonna let them stay. Also, the reason that they end up in places like New York City specifically is because New York City is a sanctuary city. And I'm hoping that when the Trump administration actually takes over again, we are able to end all sanctuary cities.
With no way to afford food. The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food.
Oh, you know where they have culturally relevant food? Wherever you came from. If you come to the United States, you integrate and you eat the same garbage we eat. If you say you want to be American, then be American.
To 2,600 migrant families, allowing them to basically buy what they wanted. A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week.
Do the math on that. If they're getting $350 a week, that is $1,400 a month for basically 2 adults. Because what they just described, a migrant family with 2 kids under the age of 5. That means 2 adults. Because if you know anything about kids under the age of 5, they barely eat any food anyway. I have nephews and nieces. Sometimes we all go out to restaurants. They eat half of their food, if that. So then that leaves the rest of the money for the 2 adults to buy lobster or whatever they want to buy, and then sell the rest of their EBT credit for 50 cents on the dollar in cash when they let somebody else use their card. I know how this game works. I used to have people approach me outside of the grocery store all the time and ask me if I wanted to buy their EBT credits off of them. And then they have to walk around the store with you while you buy all your groceries. And then when you get to the counter, they pay with the EBT and you act like you're family with them. Ask me how I know. Also, most of the people that are coming from these other countries, they weren't eating luxurious menus wherever they're from. A lot of these people are eating meals that consist of things like rice and beans, and it does not take $1,400 to buy rice and beans. I'm Mexican American. This is something I know to be a fact.
To cover food in a program the city said would actually save taxpayers millions a year. It also reduced food waste. You may remember the food the city had been providing in migrant shelters was seen as not culturally sensitive to the needs of some migrant groups, and it ended up just going to waste.
Just going to waste because it wasn't culturally sensitive? If you don't like the food you're getting, you can either starve or you can figure it out on your own. I mean, let's be honest about this. You come here seeking asylum, which means something was really bad in the country you came from. And then you get here, we give you shelter, we give you food, and you have the nerve to be picky? No sir, no ma'am, and no anything in between. And imagine this in any other circumstance. Say you had a friend and she came to you and she was like, my husband is putting hands on me. I need a place for me and my babies to stay. So you say, sure girl, I got you. Come stay with me. She comes to stay with you. You make dinner and all of a sudden she's like, oh, we don't eat that. I'd be like, girl, I'm beginning to see why he was putting hands on you. Just kidding. But seriously, imagine if that was the case. And so you're like, all right, well, I'll give you some money so that you and the kids can eat whatever you want. How does $1,400 a month sound? Under any other circumstance, this makes no sense. And I'm going to tell you guys, I blame the French. They gave us the Statue of Liberty as a gift. And it was like, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. We've got enough of those. How dare the French give us that gift and act like we're supposed to live up to it? Imagine that in any other circumstance. Imagine your neighbor that's not really your neighbor, lives on the other side of town, coming over to your place and putting a sign in front of your door that says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. I'd be like, nope, I don't need your tired, your poor, or your huddled masses. What I need are your skilled and motivated to help me pay some of these bills. Otherwise, get out. You don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here.
For more than a year, the city was groaning under the weight of more than 200,000 asylum seekers. Officials say the migrant population has actually reduced lately.
200,000 asylum seekers, and that's in New York City alone. And then you wonder why we say we have an immigration problem. And then you wonder why Trump got reelected. At some point, you have to say enough is enough, and we have reached that point. And then right at the end, if you heard, they said that the migrant population has reduced. Which to that, I say good. Let's get it as close to zero as we possibly can. And we're never going to be able to get rid of all the immigrants, and I don't think anybody wants to get rid of all the immigrants. We definitely do need some of them. We're just in a keep only what you need situation right now. And if the path to citizenship has to be low wages and having to scrape by until you either figure something out or your kids become successful and raise you out of it, that truly is the American way, and the way that a lot of our parents and grandparents did it when they came to this country. So it's not unfair or inhumane to ask the people that do get to stay to have to take the same path that our families had to take to come to this country and create a better circumstance.
In fact, a massive shelter on Roosevelt Island is in the process of closing. In the meantime, Mayor Adams spoke on the phone yesterday with President-elect Donald Trump, who had vowed during his campaign to mass deport migrants.
And that's exactly what we need, mass deportation.
Aside from congratulating him on his win, though, Adams today would not say what they discussed.
Okay, so that's the story. And before anybody hits me with Mayor Eric Adams is probably doing this because he's under federal investigation and he's hoping Donald Trump will call an end to that when he's back in office. One, Donald Trump has already said that he thinks that Mayor Adams is being unfairly targeted for being critical of the Biden administration. So he already liked him as far as that goes. Then the other thing is, I'm at the point, and I think a lot of us are too, where I don't care why anybody is is doing anything. We just need them to do it. I will repeat, we have our own people to worry about. And at least for the foreseeable future, we don't have to worry about anybody getting rid of all immigrants because there are certain jobs that Americans just won't do. And Donald Trump himself knows this. He's actually said it in interviews before, but the panic people won't ever bother to watch those interviews. So if you refuse to do any research at all, go ahead and stay scared. But for anybody that doesn't know and wants to know, they've already tried this in certain states, namely Alabama. In 2011, they tried something called HB 56, which pretty effectively got rid of all of the immigrants that were living in Alabama. And things came to a grinding halt, and Alabama lost millions, if not over $1 billion, because there truly were certain jobs that Americans just would not do. It got so bad that the politicians had to come out and basically say, we may have gone a hair too far, which I'm paraphrasing, but that is what happened. And trust me, Donald Trump knows this happened. How does Donald Trump know this happened? Because for a minute there, Jeff Sessions was Attorney General under Donald Trump. Where is Jeff Sessions from? Alabama. So I'm sure that when Donald Trump was talking about his hard line on immigration the first time around, Jeff Sessions had to have clued him in on how terribly wrong this had gone in his home state in 2011, and I'm sure that Donald Trump wouldn't want that happening on a nationwide level. I truly do believe that Donald Trump does intend to figure out how to bring down the cost of living for everyday citizens, and groceries are such a huge part of that. Any one of us that is an adult and pays for our own food and doesn't get a food voucher for $1,400 a month from the government has seen the dramatic increase after COVID, which you can't fully blame Joe Biden for, but no matter how we got here, here is where we're at. And that's what we need to have fixed. And if we get rid of all the immigrants, everything's going to go way up. So there definitely will be some things figured out, and I'm sure of it. But going into panic mode on any level and trying to blame Donald Trump before he's even in office, because also if you heard during the story, they mentioned but kind of just glossed over it, that this plan was intended to only last for a year anyways.
The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food.
So this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that Trump just got reelected. This was supposed to be done in a year. They just want to blame it on Trump so it makes it look like things are already going wrong and he's not even officially in office yet. And when I say we have our own people to worry about, I really do feel that way, and I'm not just bandwagon. I have been talking about the fact that we need to take better care of our vets forever now. Some of the comics I like the most and have been on the road with me are actual veterans. And thankfully, they've been able to keep it together. But I'd be lying if I said that I haven't seen the effects of PTSD in some of my friends. And mental health care for our veterans, the way our veterans were getting treated, are actual concerns to me and things that I think as Americans that we should really be looking at rather than giving a bunch of money to immigrants. I mentioned Hurricane Helene. We need more money to go to our own citizens. That's just a matter of fact. And while I would like to say that all immigrants are here to just make a better life, we all know from some of the unalivings that have happened and some of the things that have happened to the underage at the hands of immigrants that we are seeing online and in the news daily. And then also, let's not talk about Aurora, where you have the immigrants that have taken over entire apartment buildings in some cases, but we're all supposed to pretend that every immigrant is just here with the best intentions. And at some point, you need to make where you're from better instead of just coming here because you know that we're going to take you in. At some point, people need to know that you can't just skip the line. And that's very unfair to immigrants that have come here legally, spent thousands of dollars on lawyers or being on waiting lists or both, when if they had just come here illegally, they could have gotten a hotel stay and $1,400 a month in food vouchers. Which offering hotels and food vouchers is definitely giving people incentive to continue to come here illegally rather than working the actual process. So we really do need to start to throttle the illegal immigration. And I do think ending programs like this will definitely help to do that. Besides, you have to remember that I'm LGBTQ. And I don't know if you guys know this, but we could also use some of this money to make sure that LGBT minors are able to get their hormones taken care of by the government. You know, right now there's some 13-year-old trans kid that can't afford to have her tits chopped off. And it just breaks my heart. Just kidding. I'm actually very much against that, and I'm going to make a full video about it. So if you guys made it to the end of the video, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And if you didn't see the video I made about the trans woman that's suing Hooters, click the link on your screen. Thanks for watching. As always, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.